Of course, they're singing. Yes, absolutely. Oh, that's why those pews are empty. I'm like, why is no one sitting there? Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Come into the circle of love and justice. Come into the community of mercy, holiness, and health. Come and you shall know peace and joy. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Barnstable, Unitarian Universalist, where love guides us. We acknowledge that our church and lands rest upon unceded ancestral lands of Wampanoag people who have lived and been sustained in this territory for over 12,000 years. I extend a special welcome to our visitors and encourage you to join us after the service for fellowship and refreshments. If you would like to know more about Unitarian Universalism or this congregation, please fill out a guest card, which you will find in the pew rack in front of you, and return it to an usher or me. Here, we celebrate the presence and participation of people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or gender non-conforming. Here, Black Lives Matter. Here, in the words of a new favorite tune of mine, credit to Taj Mahal and his co-writers, there is room on the porch for everyone. Here, we are a green sanctuary, lifting up the climate crisis in which we find ourselves and promoting the values of a sustainable planet. In the spirit of welcome, please rise in body or spirit and greet one another. For visiting. Yes, as Rabbi Freelund says, stop being friendly now. You can do it again at the coffee hour after service. So I invite your attention to the announcements written in the order of service. As well, we have good news from the scone squad. We have ginger scones to buy during coffee hour. I should have introduced myself. My name is Vicki Goldsmith, a member of this congregation, assisting with the service today. And we are pleased to have with us this morning, back by popular request, Rabbi David Freelund. This is a music-loving congregation, and so without even knowing where he will go with his remarks, a music-themed title draws us in immediately. As for me, I have heard the voice of Rabbi Freelund expressed as folk singer, as Elvis impersonator, as comic, as civic leader, as rabbi. And so I am keenly interested in where his topic of irresistible voice will take him today. It especially touches my heart that one of my daughter's oldest and dearest friends, and therefore along with her mother, one of my oldest and dearest friends, visiting from her home in Berlin, Germany, is here with us this morning. So I'd like to invite Rebecca Rainey to please come forward and light our chalice. At times, our own light goes out and then is rekindled by a spark from outside ourselves. The chalice flame, changeless and changing, reminds us of these transformations. Please rise in body or spirit and join in unison for the affirmation printed in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony And if you would please remain standing for hymn number 38, Morning Has Broken. We invite all who wish to come forward down the center aisle in 2 rows and place a pebble of joy or concern in our communal waters. This simple ritual provides a time, while in this beautiful and love-filled place, to quietly raise up in our own mind a special sorrow or worry, happiness or gratitude, as you may be moved to do so. Others may prefer to remain seated and take this time as an opportunity for silent prayer and reflection. May we hold in our hearts all who are suffering. May we find the courage and strength to resist where it is warranted, to converse even when it is difficult, and to help forge pathways to a world of more kindness, respect, and justice wherever and however we may. May we live in gratitude, notice beauty, and do our best most of our days to sprinkle bits of kindness and love here and there with generosity and abandon. Amen. Please rise in body and or spirit for hymn number 108, How Can I Keep From Singing? Yes, and you know this one too. So that our church may survive and thrive in its good works, and to support the continued care of our building and grounds, and to provide for the fair support of the wonderful staff who serve here, the morning offering will now be received. rise in body or spirit and join in the dedication and offering printed in your order of service. And it is fine to remain seated for responsive reading number 532. The Music of the Spheres. You all do the part in italics. The Music of the Spheres. Its rhythms are the equal repeated seasons, the beating of the heart. The cycle of stars and corn. Rhythms of moon and tide, one single rhythm in planets, atoms, sea. Melody, accord, arpeggios, the harp of the universe, unity behind apparent multiplicity. That is music.
The reading I chose is from Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs. He was the chief rabbi of the UK. And I always think when his mother named him Lord, it probably seeded the field a bit. Judaism is a religion of words, and yet, whenever the language of Judaism aspires to the spiritual, it modulates into song. As if the words themselves seek escape from the gravitational pull of finite meanings. Music speaks to something deeper than the mind. If we are to make Torah, God's instruction to us, new in every generation, we have to find ways of singing its song a new way. The words never change, but the music does. Pardon me, I have a tech issue I've got to deal with. I'll be right back. I'm trying to do something I've not done before, so I figured I would experiment here while it was easy, you know. Not necessary. It's just a moment. I was using my fingers instead of the keyboard. Never a good idea. All right. You know, like when you're someplace and they tell you, "Oh no, it's okay to eat it with your hands." You're just like, yeah. I always feel the same way about the touch screen. There we go. Oh, it wasn't that one. It was there. We go. No, now I have two of one and one of the other. Okay, how did that happen? All right. it again.
Time for silent prayer. And then
I'm so sorry. Yeah. We're going to see what happens. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? For some reason, I've got 2 tracks labeled the same. I see what happened here. I can't do it without this, and because the music is really important to this, so I'm going to try one more time and see what happens here. And I bet you I've got the answer to one of these guys. Let me see what happened. I'll tell you in a second. Yeah, somehow I lost one of my tracks. That's a real
David, let us know when
shame.
you're ready. Take another opportunity to greet a different neighbor.
Yes, thank you. It's all right, I'll soldier on without the piece that I wanted to use. I'm so sorry. I don't know how I'm going to be able to recover it just now. At the last minute, it just may not happen. That's unfortunate. Because I had downloaded all this and somehow I seem to have written over something. So that happens sometimes, huh?
Until another minute if you like.
Not necessary.
All right.
Damn the torpedoes. All right, here we go. We'll do it. All right. It's all right. I'll make it happen. I'm just, when you start an album and you're missing track number 1, you're like, how did that happen? All righty. So this is my vain attempt at multimedia. We'll see how it goes. Unmuted. Good. All right. So, first off, thank you for having me back at the Unitarian Church of Barnstable. It is always a privilege and an honor to be with you, one that I do not take lightly. And it's an opportunity for me to also maybe speak on some topics that I wouldn't speak on in my own pulpit, because I'm not necessarily operating under the same constraints. I might be able to do this one at the Cape Cod Synagogue, but who knows? So I'm hoping to take us on a little bit of a journey this morning regarding how we respond to, how we come by, receive, how we make, and how we connect with music, and the special role that it plays for us in our connection to God. So naturally, I wanted to start with J.R.R. Tolkien. Any fans out there of Tolkien? All right, fabulous. I mean, not the movies, the books. Yes, okay, just a second. All right, I see some answer, because the big difference. I mean, yes, the movies were wonderful, and thank you, Peter Jackson, but there's no substitute for the literature. So if you're a fan, you probably know this. If you're not, you probably don't, but it doesn't matter. So Tolkien was a scholar of Norse literature and of English literature. So he was deeply immersed in the origins of the English language as well as Norse epics. And he was a professor of English literature at Oxford University, and he just happened to become more famous for his fiction than anything else. You may not know that his writing on what became Middle-earth started in the trenches of France in a series of cards written home and then collected at the other end, witnessing the most horrific behavior that human beings can summon against one another. And so we had The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and for me, what's actually the pinnacle of his writing, The Silmarillion, which starts with his creation myth for the entire world, and then the sweeping epic that comes long before human beings ever grace the earth. Now, his creation story holds a particular fascination for me. Why? Because I think with most human creation stories, if you're familiar with them from cultures around the world, there is often a grappling with what went wrong. How is it that humanity can occupy a world with conflict, with death, and with such sorrow, and also with such beauty? So Tolkien's creation myth begins with the generative power of music as the presence of the divine. And if you think, the Bible also begins with God's words. Yehi Or, let there be light. It is the voice that brings the world into being. So just for those of you who are not necessarily possessors of prosthetic pointy ears at home, glue on when nobody can see, I'm going to give a little bit of a background here as I read a little piece from Tolkien. Arda is the earth, which should be close enough to us because that's pretty much the root for the word earth in English as well, right? So the name of the god that he deals with is Eru or Iluvatar. Okay? There was Eru, the one, who in Arda is called Iluvatar. And he first made the Ainur, the holy ones, that were the offspring of his thought. And they were with him before aught else was made. And he spoke to them, propounding to them themes of music. And they sang before him, and he was glad. But for a long while they sang only each alone, or but a few together, while the rest hearkened. For each comprehended only that part of the mind of Iluvatar from which he came. And the understanding of their brethren, they grew but slowly. Yet ever as they listened, I think the motorcycles are here. Anybody been to Wisconsin? Nobody? All right. That's where the Harleys come from. Yet, ever as they listened, they came to deeper understanding and increased in unison and harmony. And it came to pass that Iluvatar called all the Ainur together and declared to them a mighty theme, unfolding to them things greater and more wonderful than he had yet revealed. And the glory of its beginning and the splendor of its end amazed the Ainur, so that they bowed before Iluvatar and were silent. Then Iluvatar said to them, we're almost halfway through, of the theme that I have declared to you, I will now that you make in harmony together a great music. And since I have kindled within you the flame imperishable, you shall show forth your powers in adorning this theme, each with his own thoughts and devices, if he will. But I will sit and hearken and be glad that through you great beauty has been wakened into song. Then the voices of the Ainur, like unto harps and lutes and pipes and trumpets and viols and organs, and like unto countless choirs singing with words, began to fashion the theme of Iluvatar to a great music. And a sound arose of endless interchanging melodies woven in harmony that passed beyond hearing into the depths and into the heights. And the places of the dwelling of Iluvatar were filled to overflowing. And the music and the echo of the music went out into the void, and it was no longer void. Never since have the Ainur made any music like to this, though it has been said that a greater still shall be made before Iluvatar by the choirs of the Ainur and the children of Iluvatar, that would be humanity, after the end of days. And then the themes of Iluvatar shall be played aright and take being in the very moment of their utterance. For all shall then understand fully his intent in their part. Each shall know the comprehension of each, and Iluvatar shall give to their thoughts the secret fire, being well pleased. It's quite the story. Now, as far as what goes wrong, one of these angelic beings decides to go off on his own path and starts creating disharmony. And that's the story of what went wrong. I first read this work in my teens. You have a lot more time to read when you're young. And I've returned to it several times because it always made sense to me. Since my very youngest days, music has had an incredible power over my mind and body. I've never been much of a dancer, but my pulse and breathing change when I listen to music. It grabs my physical being. My thoughts, my emotions respond so greatly that I am easily moved to laughter, to tears, and everything in between just by listening to music. I find that my imagination is triggered and runs free with music more so than any other art form that I can encounter. I don't know if any of you have a similar response. Just driving here, I came from a board meeting and I explained to Vicki, I thank her so much for saving me from about half an hour of a board meeting to get here. Great song came on, I turned it up on the radio, I looked down at my wrist, my resting pulse is usually below 60. Too much information? It was up over 100 in the car. Right, just listening to music, and I'm sure many of you have experienced something like this as well. How is it that a succession of notes inflected the right way can bring us to tears, make us smile, even laugh, bring us to joy, connect us to the people next to us, connect us to the person who made the music? There's something more there. And so I have intuited that there was always something more to music than simple vibrations in the air. I'm sure, like many of you, my main sources of music as a child were my parents' taste and what I learned at school and what I learned at my house of worship at my synagogue. So at home, for me, that meant almost exclusively orchestral music, and for the most part, it was the accepted canonical works from the Baroque through the Romantic periods. A little bit of 20th century, not a lot. I can't remember much popular music being played, at least if it was not from the teens of the last century, that is. And most jazz was not on the menu. For some reason, Scott Joplin had a preferred place in the house, so we have those records. Unlike today, I was a pretty hyper child. Had my childhood, why are you laughing, Vicki? You'll notice I'm shifting on my feet while I'm talking to you, right? It's hard for me to stand still. I was diagnosed with grade 4 Spilkus a long time ago. All right. So had my childhood happened these days, I probably would have been medicated and made to sit still in class. Thank God my parents realized that they could put a record on the turntable. Oh my goodness, do you remember those? And I would simply lie on the floor and listen and daydream easily for an hour or more. Oh, that was the one I wanted. How about that? All right, how about that? Peter and the Wolf, Beethoven, it didn't matter. Tears are already in my eyes when I start to hear that. Some of you probably recognize the start of the last movement of Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, Nach dem Sturm. So after the terrible storm comes Thanksgiving and joy again. It's incredibly moving every time I hear it. And it's like I'm 6 years old and lying on my parents' living room floor again, listening to that music every time I hear it. That symphony, by the way, unveiled the same performance as the fifth. He wrote them both in 2 years. More about Beethoven to come. It's known for its inspiration from nature. He was actually under doctor's orders to go out into a place where he wouldn't hear as much, and he wouldn't stress his hearing when he was writing this. Beethoven is still my gold standard for European classical melody, expression, and harmony. As I learned later, it was often a struggle for him. What came to him easily in his youth became more difficult as he grew older. He was known particularly as an iterative composer who labored over his work, who reworked passages over and over again. He was a restless spirit who could not be contained by convention and constraint. He broke the orchestra to get the sounds he wanted. As his mind grew, as his expression grew, as his soul grew in the music, he had to break the orchestra that came before him, adding more brass, adding more percussion, eventually human voices, things that just hadn't happened before he did them. In order to get what was inside out, he had to break away from what was. His works, as I'm sure most of you know, grew deeper, more complicated, more expressive as his own hearing failed. How could a person unable to hear his own work continue to write it? It's a mystery that has held on to me, which we will return to in a bit. And so this is the basis for my understanding of music. Beautiful, but also a little bit limited. My own tastes did expand from where I started. At one point, somehow a Simon and Garfunkel record appeared in the house. Maybe my sister bought it, I don't know, but that was quickly assimilated. And then I got a small transistor radio in my bedroom that was probably around 1978. Oh. I grew up in New York, and for anybody who grew up with the New York radio dial, you have some idea of what that means. In the words of the late Lou Reed, founding member of the Velvet Underground and another Jewish kid from Long Island in his song Rock and Roll. Now, Jenny said when she was just about 5 years old, hey, you know, there's nothing happening at all. Not at all. Every time I put on the radio, you know, there's nothing going down at all. Not at all. But one fine morning, she hears a New York station. She doesn't believe what she heard at all. She started dancing to that fine, fine music. You know, her life was saved by rock and roll. And despite all the computation, you know, you could just dance to the rock and roll station, and it was all right. I was off to the races. The New York City radio dial of my youth was a place of unlimited riches. Fired up by the Beatles, Pink Floyd, King Crimson, Sly and the Family Stone, Stevie Wonder, Paul Simon, Carlos Santana, Frank Zappa, Jimi Hendrix. I was going in a million directions at once. The variety of music available on just one or two stations was astounding. And I studied and I learned, because back then the DJs picked their own tracks and they actually knew about it and they talked about the artists. So it was, in a way, it was going to school. And most always, I was looking backwards. Yes, there was contemporary music I liked, but I sometimes shock people when I tell them, my contemporaries, that I haven't really listened to pop music since I was 12 or 13 years old. It just doesn't hold a lot of interest for me. I feel like I'm not the intended target. Again, I'm not much of a dancer, so I'm not one of those people that would have been on the top four. Casey Kasem, American Bandstand, there we go. Casey, it's got a good beat, you can dance to it. Yeah, that was not me. I was always looking for something more, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of a sample of some of the things that ran through my head and just fired me up so much. And of course, it's the break, right? Of course, Stevie Wonder, I hope we all recognize. In homage to the great Duke Ellington, easily one of the top composers of the 20th century, right? What happened to classical music? Here's where it went. Probably less recognition for that one. I saw somebody smiling. Somebody know that one? Okay. That's Frank Zappa with his unbelievable band from the early 70s. That's a live take from the Roxy in Los Angeles. Again, one of the top composers of the 20th century. If you go to a music department, I guarantee you everybody knows Frank Zappa. That's where the orchestral music went. Partly because orchestras refused to play new music, or the audiences didn't want to hear it. Improvisation, also at the heart of what drove me. 133 beats per minute, in case you were wondering. Anybody for that? You saw me counting out so you could see it was in 7/8. Somebody knew that? You know that one? Yeah. What was that? You got it. That was the Grateful Dead playing reggae time in 7/8 and freely improvising over it. Okay. One more I'm going to give you because it goes down a different hole. Maybe more known. Anybody? Right, but it's a cover, right? Everybody knows it's a cover? Yeah, it is Carlos Santana off the first record, but that's a cover. Oh, no, okay, that's Babatunde Olatunji. That's from Drums of Passion in 1960. So the great Nigerian drummer who came to the States to study and stayed, after he got his university degree. I think he was a Howard University grad, but he brought the traditions here. And you don't have to speak Ogu or Yoruba to understand, which is another part of my point here as we get to it. Enough with the show and tell. We'll move on a little bit. I know it's fun though, isn't it? And I promise you, if you hear that groove, it's pretty hard to sit still, isn't it? That's a really important thing to know about being a human being. It's a really important thing to know about being a human being. So through this, the shell was cracked open for me, and it's never really stopped. I've been going in a million directions with music since then, endlessly fascinated with it. And I just began to think about what music was in a very different way, because it really doesn't matter where you go in the world. The elements of rhythm, melody, and harmony are essential to what it means to be a human being, and they are essential to our spiritual well-being. Everybody, everywhere, is connected to music. For many of us, a house of worship, which is a core human experience, our souls can bind together through the experience of shared music. Varying religious traditions approach the divine differently. Some make us feel sweet to try and run. Traditions encourage more monastic behavior and solitary meditation and chant. an individual pursuit apart from others, but yet that chant becomes part of one's own heartbeat and breath, which of course are the elements of rhythm for every human being, right? We have three sources of rhythm in our lives every day: our heartbeats, our breath, and our footsteps. Some traditions, through music and song, look to call the divine to visit us and take up residence amongst us. And I promise you, if you were already moving to that's the whole point, right? But whatever were the calls, that was the job of the Levites. Sacred responsibilities of the Levites to play. I do one Jewish tune because, well, and it may surprise you. Recognize that as Jewish music right off the bat, but that's actually a very long time. Again, it was written, understand the words to get it. That I'm going to return to our friend form everybody knows. So, but what is the piece that he chose? We joy. You can shout it out. It's okay. Joy. You can shout it out. It's okay. But I'm putting to music and why? But I'm putting to music and why? Divine sparks, Elysium, the classic. Divine sparks, Elysium, the classic reference. Your sanctuary, classic reference. Your sanctuary. Your magic bind embrace.
To cap this service, in your heart, carry good and true, and I to move to the back and begin to enjoy Ode to